Good evening. Welcome to this petition evening on property, highways and transport matters. I'll make a few general announcements. Fire alarm, we're not expecting one. So if it does go off, there are plenty of officers and members here who will hopefully show you the quickest way to the street. Mobile phones, I'd ask you, if you've got them on, please turn them at least to silent so they don't go off in the middle of the chat. The other thing I'd like to say is we are recording. Can't remember where the camera is now, but over there. So, and therefore, for the benefit of those who might be watching us on YouTube, our YouTube channel, anyone who wishes to speak will have to come to here and use the microphone, because otherwise people, if there are any listening in their homes, won't be able to hear what you say. Anyway, I'm Councillor Jonathan Bianco. I'm the Cabinet Member for Property, Highways and Transport, as it says on the label, and my judgment, unfortunately for anyone here who ends up disagreeing with what I have to say, is final. There is no Court of Appeal. On my right, your left, is David Knowles, Head of Transportation, and on my left, your right, is Rebecca Reid and Ryan Dell, who are from Democratic Services, who will minute the contents of the meeting and make sure we all behave correctly. The rate we will be going here is that the lead petitioner, is Mr. Carval here? Yes. You are he? Well, I'll invite you to come up here and sit. You have up to 5 minutes. You don't have to speak for 5 minutes, but you have up to 5 minutes to speak. I may ask you questions afterwards. I will then invite the ward councillors, if they're present, to speak for up to 3 minutes each, or between them if they're of similar voice and don't need to repeat each other. And I may or may not invite others to speak as the meeting progresses. What I would say is that if I do invite others to speak, please don't just repeat what has already been said. Hopefully add something new if you've got something new. So if hopefully that is all understood, we can kick off. Mr. Carval, when you're ready, please press the big button on the middle of that. The thing will light up and away you go.
Good evening, everyone. So this is regarding the petition number 230426, requesting for a pedestrian crossing for safe access to the West Drayton station from the Ferris Avenue bus stop. The West Drayton station bus stop remains closed for many years now, citing the works required to be undertaken by Network Rail, and I understand the council has been diligently following up for that. However, because the station is not working, there is a hazard that has been created on the Ferris Avenue bus stop, wherein people, especially in the morning rush hours, as the bus stops, people try to cross the road from the blind spot for drivers who are oncoming, and either they try to make a crossing from the front of the bus stop or the behind. And in both the cases, the drivers oncoming cannot see the people who are trying to cross the road, and making it very unsafe for them to make a crossing. I personally had been involved in both the scenarios where I was driving myself through that, and I was trying to make a crossing, and I saw someone just coming in, and I had to make an emergency brake stop. Similarly, I was also being party to the pedestrian side of things, where I tried to cross in the morning, and I faced that it's difficult to cross, especially when you are trying to catch a train which is just about to come. People time their commute for the bus as well as the train as well. So I think this concerns the safety of not just the pedestrian crossing, but also there's a risk of vehicle drivers to hit someone unintentionally. And that is the reason I have put in a request to put in a pedestrian crossing in there. Only a few steps from there, however, there is already a pedestrian crossing, but it actually takes them people backwards, so they have to walk twice the steps. So that is why people are not using those crossing at all. I've also been apprised that we can encourage people to go back, but it is not in the practice. You would see that in the morning rush hours, people try to just jump and take about 10 meters of walk rather than going backwards, doing a 30 meters steps being added to their journey. So that's the problem, and I'm just hoping we can find a solution, adding a pedestrian crossing in there, maybe remove the older one and put in a new one, which serves the purpose right now and reducing the risk of these two issues that I just highlighted. So yeah, I think that's me. That's all I had to say today.
Well, thank you. Councillors, do you want to speak now? Why not? Stay there. You can stay there. I may well ask you a question in a moment, so let's get the councillor spoken, and then we can. You too, Scott? Oh, yeah.
Good evening, Cabinet members, Councillor Bianco and others, and everyone in this hall. Yes, there is an issue, as you will know, that the bus doesn't stop and goes to that West Stratton station to drop off the passengers. And as the petitioner said, there is a safety comes up when in the morning they're busy, and there's a lot of the work and officers, those who goes to central London and using the train, they use the Warwick Road bus entrance, and they cross the road, Station Road, they use the Warwick Road entrance. It makes them easier, quicker. So as I said to you, when they cross this is the rush hour in the morning time, so it's a big causing an accident. To reduce this, thinking about the safety of that, those are using the bus and going to the station, I think there should be a zebra crossing or pedestrians. Also, there are two pedestrian crossing, as the petitioner said, is behind by the post office or maybe further down. But to save that time, sometimes people are rush. They cross the road, the station road, and we use the Warwick roads. Therefore, I think it should be there in pedestrian. Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councillor, do you want to speak now too? Get you all over with, and then we can get down to it.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there is an issue with the parking. I mean, I think first and foremost we have to admit here that the issue here is with Network Rail and the fact that they haven't repaired the road, and it's unacceptable. And I thank you, as in your role as the cabinet member, for your efforts that you are making. As a ward councillor, I'm also pursuing via TFL as well to try and see what the mayor can do and City Hall, because clearly we've all got a vested interest in getting that road reopened, which does make it a difficult one because of the temporary nature, although temporary is a bit of a flexible term in these days. But we have a situation where residents, either where they're dropped off is either on the south side of the railway or the north side. There's a significant walk to the station from either drop-off point, and we've, the nearest bus stops are those in Station Road in the West Drayton side. So, from my point of view, we've got 4 buses that are preserving the bus stops there. We have got the crossing, which is about 100 feet, 150 feet up to the north of the western side of the road. Whether that could possibly be converted, I mean, it might be visible evidence that there's a crossing. I mean, it should be visible, but nevertheless, if that was converted to a zebra crossing, for example, and looking to the future, maybe it's more visible to people getting off the bus. There's a zebra crossing, just a few hundred feet to the north. Obviously, there's little difficulties here with that location, because you've got Ferrers, you've got Warwick directly opposite each other. There's on-street parking. there's a lot of issues around that particular junction where the bus stop actually is pretty adjacent to the junction. So there's issues there. So it's whether or not we can have a compromise potentially to convert an existing crossing, maybe that one that is to the north, to a zebra crossing, so it's more visible to residents as they get off the bus. But again, it is really the issue that it's Network Rail, and they need to pull their fingers out and get this thing sorted out. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yes, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head with Network Rail, and sort of I wanted to say that the latest is that following a meeting I had, I don't know whether I reported to you or not, but the last meeting I had with Network Rail, they promised that the survey of the sewer, which they tell me is the reason for all the delay on station approach, is due to take place this month. So if we're lucky, it's already happened. If we're not, it hasn't. But we're promised that it will take place this month, and we've been promised a copy of the report when it becomes available. We've further been promised that despite them originally saying they weren't then going to start works until somewhere between next April and next December, we've been further promised that as these are emergency works, they could be done sooner. That hasn't been confirmed in blood yet, so I'm always sceptical, and particularly of them. We are, however, I think we've started this week, rumour has it, on the forecourt, because we have some TfL money we need to spend by the end of next March, and if we don't get on with it now, we won't. So that work has started, and I am only hopeful that when they do the road, they don't and the sewer, they don't end up digging up the newly laid forecourt. But we live in hope. So that's the sort of update on the station approach. But I think it's fair to say that it's at best it's going to be the middle of next year before it's open. I just think. I mean, I'd like to think it would be quicker, but I just can't feel it is. So there is a sort of need to do. There's a desire to do something in the short term. I think there are. I mean, you've highlighted half the problems. The three of you, the two of you, well, all three of you actually have highlighted the problems as we've been talking, as you've been talking. The biggest problem. I mean, the idea of converting the existing refuge into a zebra crossing is, I mean, an interesting one. It's fraught with problems, not least of which you'd lose a whole load of car parking around there, and no doubt I'd then have a petition from all the shopkeepers asking us not to do it because they'd lose all the parking. But the bigger problem, I think, is that people don't walk to zebra crossings, and it's one of my particular irritants when people come to ask me, and I'm not counting this particularly, but when people come to ask me for a zebra crossing somewhere, by the time council officers look at where it is safe within the rules to put a zebra crossing, it's invariably not where people want it. And the net result, of course, is that people don't cross at the crossing; they cross 15 feet away, because as you said, Mr. Carval, they're in a hurry and they want to go from A to B, and A to B doesn't mean going via C and D, you know. So I fear that if we did make that into a proper zebra crossing, they'd just ignore it anyway and still cross across there. And I think the problem will be that we can't put a zebra crossing where we would like one, which is right on that junction, because of all the problems that associate it with. And I dare say Mr. Knowles may have something to say on the subject. We'll come back to it in a minute. But I think the really the only thing we can do is we'll undertake a survey of pedestrian activity, I suppose. It's the best thing. Where they're crossing, and look at what are called pedestrian desire lines, which basically says we're actually looking at where they do what they do, and then we're going to look at, based on that, whether there is anything useful we can actually do. The problem is it's a junction. I mean, I know the spot well. The problem is it is a junction. It's a busy road. I mean, part of me says I don't want to do anything to Station Road that slows the traffic even more, because a lot of the day the traffic is virtually stationary anyway, and putting any other devices across the road which slows it more, makes you think, oh no, God, we don't want that. But I think that's probably the only sensible thing we can do. Mr. Knowles, do you want to chuck something in?
Thank you, Councillor. I think you've summed it up pretty well, actually. The fact is the bus stop is right on, slap bang on the corner. So if you were to try and put a crossing where the bus stop is, you'd have to move the bus stop, and then you lose parking, various other things as well. There is a crossing point. It's an interesting suggestion to look at making it into a zebra, and I think we'll take that away and discuss it further with Councillor Bianco, because thank you for the suggestion. I think the problem of this is we are in this situation purely because of the problems that there are with the station approach forecourt. If that station was open and the buses were going in as they should be, then people would be able to take the bus right in and they get straight to the point. Because as you know, going up Warwick Road, that's not the end of it, because you've got to go all the way through the subway to the far end, because if you're going to go on the train, you have to go to the far end. And in the old days, you used to be able to walk up the steps to the individual platforms. Now you've got to go all the way through, and sometimes you've got to go up through a lift and come back again. That's an unfortunate reality of what it is. So I think the dilemma collectively for us is how much do we do in terms of making changes for something that might be temporary in its demand. And perhaps I would suggest that, as Councillor Bianco has already met with a director from Network Rail, and I was present at the meeting as well, we just need to, I think, accelerate the work as far as we can to minimise this risk. There is the problem, as Councillor Bianco said, that if people see a zebra crossing but it's somewhere up the road and they just take a shortcut and go where they are. So that's not being a cop-out, it's just a reflection of reality. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sure that the finishing of station approach will solve all problems, but it will undoubtedly go a long way. I mean, perhaps when we're doing the investigation and you're thinking about what could be done, we might look to see if there's any temporary thing we could do. I mean, I don't know what constitutes a temporary thing, whether we could do something until the station forecourt is sorted. But I think that's probably all we can sensibly offer. Yes, I was going to call you back, but you've raised your hand, so perfect timing, Mr. Carval. Press your button and speak away.
Sir, I think you have already talked about great suggestions ahead. The only one suggestion I want to say, when the West Drayton bus stop was operational, it used to take only like 20 steps to get into the train station. And now it takes about 500 steps to get to the train station, which is okay. People are smart. People time their, their journeys. If you move the bus stop where it's safe, where there's a zebra crossing already behind it, I think it would be probably a safer option. People can still time it. They will have another 100 steps added to a journey, but they will be forced to take, they will be closer to the zebra crossing, and then they can use the zebra crossing as well and cross the road safely. So I think that may be another suggestion that I wanted to make.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad idea. Any ideas worth looking at, so we'll certainly look at that. Okay, so are you clear on what we're doing?
We still have the written statement.
Oh, yes, we do. Sorry, I knew there was another one. Read it out. If you can read it out inside 3 minutes, then if not, stop yourself and she'll lose the last bit. Go ahead. This is from Councillor Sweeting.
I respectfully ask the Cabinet Member Councillor Bianco to consider my comments in respect to this petition, as I am not able to attend the petition hearing in person. It has been 3 years since buses have not been able to access West Drayton Station due to a sunken sewer, and still 3 years later, and after numerous complaints from residents and local councillors, the extent of the problem is still being explored by Network Rail and others. In the meantime, residents of West Drayton and Useley and others using West Drayton's New Elizabeth line have been faced with a long trek from and to the station from the nearest bus stops at Ferrers Avenue and Useley High Street, which are considerable distances away. From recent information received in response to my question as to when the necessary repairs will be undertaken, which will allow buses to once again access the station forecourt, it would appear that investigations are ongoing and that there is no end date in sight, with a possible start date for repairing the sewer being well into 2024 and beyond. So we have the situation in which streams of people are crossing Station Road from and to the station, searching for the nearest bus stops, These groups of people include vulnerable and disabled people with mobility restrictions, young families and visitors, and others, some with suitcases. That it has taken 3 years and still no resolution, even after a deluge of complaints sent to the organisation and organisations responsible for ensuring that the station forecourt is fit for purpose, is, in my opinion, of deep concern. Therefore, whilst recognising that there may well be logistical problems in delivering pedestrian crossing as per the request from petitioners, I ask that the Council takes a lead in investigating all options in order for residents of Hillingdon, as well as non-residents alike, are able to access the multi-billion-pound railway, which is the Elizabeth line at West Drayton Station, with ease and safety, whilst at the same time continuing to put pressure on Network Rail to speed up the repair of the sewer, which has been the root cause of this long and protracted problem. I thank you for considering my comments. Councillor Jan Sweeting of West Drayton Ward.
Good. Councillor Sweeting never short of a word or two. I think she's just saying really what you two have already said. So we note her comments. I move the 3 recommendations, which are to meet the petitioners and listen to them, to note the concerns over the crossing and instruct officers to consider the undertaking of a pedestrian survey and understand levels of pedestrian crossing and pedestrian desire lines, and thirdly to ask officers investigate the feasibility of the petitioner's request for a crossing given the restraints such as location, bus stops, parking, etc. Those are the 3 recommendations which I agree, and thank you for coming. Right, so item 5 is the same 3 councillors and Miss Murphy. Are you Miss Murphy? Good evening. I beg your pardon? Mrs. Sorry, didn't know. Please have a seat. You heard the introduction I gave, so you know the form. Hopefully, you have up to 5 minutes, starting whenever you're ready.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's I've lived on the Harmondsworth Road, West Drayton, for over 30 years. Over the years, we've noticed speeding. It's getting worse and worse. We've had, people are doing about 70 or 80 miles an hour down there. And as they come off of that road, they come down our slip road doing the same speed. We've had numerous accidents on the main road, even on our little road. There's been some fatalities. There is a zebra crossing on that road, but someone's been knocked over on that. It's just constant speeding. They're racing. It's motorbikes, cars. It's just, we need something to slow the traffic down, because the zebra crossing doesn't seem to work. They just go straight through it. I mean, we've seen someone actually knocked over me and my husband. So it's the speeding. It's getting worse and worse, and a lot of them are on their mobile phones. We just want some, I don't think putting speed restriction signs up would work. Maybe road humps or something like that will slow the traffic down, because it is very dangerous. And this is, as I say, I've been there 30 years. When we first moved in, a man was killed on our road. So, but over the years, it's just got totally worse. It's disregard for anyone's safety. So we would just like, some road humps or whatever they can put in to slow the traffic down. So that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Councillors, who wants to go first this time? Don't fight about it. We've got Jan Sweeting to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I think the real crux of this is that you've got a bridge over the M4,
yeah. And
on the south side of that you've got what is, as it's going on to the road going towards Harmondsworth Village, is national speed limit. people are not taking any consideration to, coming into a residential area. They speed from there up and down over that bridge. I've witnessed it myself. I've seen cars just whizzing up and down, motorbikes particularly as well, because they're just low into themselves and can get around places. So I would certainly ask for investigation into mitigations if there's any that are possible to be done there. And yes, there's also the concern about the slip road, which is where the residents are living. That also is a rat run. It's a lot of people travelling through there, cutting through, and yes, speeding down that slip road. Obviously, it's as a pedestrian, your ability to determine how fast they are going, but certainly they are going at some pace beyond what is supposed to be the limit. So yes, certainly I would ask that council, the hearing here, looks at and commits to a traffic survey, please, and then bearing that out, the mitigations are investigated and installed as applicable. Thank you.
The petition of 52 signatures indicates the depth of concern which residents are feeling regarding the high speed of motorists and other vehicles along both the main Harmondsworth Road as well as the residential road which is parallel. The main Harmondsworth Road is a very busy main road which is increasingly seeing heavy lorries, skip lorries and buses vying with motorists at speed along this road. The geography of this road says it all, with the long and straight downward stretch from Holloway Lane over the M4 motorway into West Drayton, with cars going at speed towards the junction of Laurel Lane, which is also heavily congested at many times during the day. There have been a number of serious incidents along this stretch of road, as the officer's report states. There have also been a number of near misses and minor incidents which residents have witnessed. The road is a dangerous one at the best of times, and with increased use over the last few years, it is more so. I wholly support any and all traffic calming measures along this stretch of road, which would seek to reduce speed. These could include signing, flashing lights, rumble strips, etc. As to the residential road with the same name, the problem here is that it is being used as a rat run when the adjacent Laurel Lane road is congested, which it often is. Once again, I ask that measures are put in place which would deter motorists from going above 20 miles per hour, as the properties along this stretch of road are minus fences and walls, and even cars travelling at relatively slow speeds are of concerns to residents. I thank you for considering my comments. Again, Councillor Jan Sweeting of West Drayton Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Islam, do you want to speak?
Thank you, Councillor Bianco again. Yes, as I live in West Drayton and the Councillor of West Drayton, I've been living in West Drayton for a long time. Harmondsworth Road is the main road. It's taking use of the south from West Drayton to the village for the Harmondsworth. Sipson and Longford, as well as the western of the part of the A4. It is also the residential road with the flats and houses. Residents are concerned by speed of traffic travelling on the main road, particularly northbound where there is a step fall in the road as it crosses the M4. The fall enables traffic to speed even more, so that by the time it reaches Laurel Lane, it is also in excess of the speed limit. The Laurel Lane junction is a busy one, as it is sole entrance of the Laurel Lane estates from the east and leads directly to Laurel Lane and St. Margaret primary schools, which are both situated at the end of Laurel Lane. Lower Lane is also bus road. Residents are concerned at the speed of traffic travelling along the main road. Also, the residents' road where there is almost no off-street parking. This means that the car is parked almost continuously along the road. The remaining lane, which is straight, residents are requesting traffic calming measure to slow traffic on both the main Harmondsworth Road as well as the road immediately fronting the resident properties. This is needed to be enable to residents to safely cross the road without the dangers brought by the speeding traffic. I fully support the resident in their petition, and also Councillor Bianco, as we know that will be soon, very soon will be opening the leisure centre as well. So I would like to request to them not to put an investigation, as my fellow councillor said it, to put on a speed bump or a speed measurement. This is the very dangerous. Also, there is a winter coming very soon, and accidents happen most of the winter times. And I was the eyewitness. The last year was in October, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a very dangerous between junction is happening junction in Lower Lane and Wandsworth Way. Thank you.
I was just wondering where the zebra crossing is. I've been up and down this road enough times, I've seen it, but I can't...
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's there. Yeah. Okay.
We have seen someone, my husband actually saw someone being knocked over, but lucky enough, she wasn't badly injured.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Again, I know this spot pretty well. I've driven up and down that road. I've been to the the new leisure centre, which hopefully will be completed with a slight delay, but soon. And I understand exactly what you're talking about. I would just make one comment, which is, and I don't know whether the councillors can answer this, but as you will know, speeding is a police issue. It's not a council issue. I mean, we don't have guns, we can't stop people for speeding, and we don't have any jurisdiction there. But the police do, and I wondered if you had. I mean, I know that in other parts of the borough, the local policing teams often have a speed gun between them, and if you hassle them a bit, they'll come out and every so often and point it up and down the road and stop people. I don't know whether you've tried that, or whether you've got contact with your local police, but if you haven't, you should be. And I'd say that to the residents too. Unfortunately, it's not something we can do, but it is certainly something that you can do. It won't solve the problem, but there's nothing like a policeman in yellow jackets pointing speeding guns at you to have an effect on it, albeit not a permanent one. I'd have to be honest and say I'm not a great fan of speed humps, speed tables, speed bumps and the like, and because often they cause as many problems as they cure. They might slow people down, but then we get people complaining that, well, I was all for a speed hump, I just didn't want it outside my house. So there are issues around that. In Harmondsworth it's slightly different because the houses are set back behind the slip roads, the service roads, whatever you want to call them. But I think the first thing to do is to what Councillor Farley said, which is to undertake a survey, a speed survey. We can then, over a course of a week, 10 days, get a much more accurate picture of the speeds that are the speeds that are happening, and that will give us a clearer view on what steps we can take. We will also try from our end to poke the police into doing something, but it would do no harm if you locally could, if we can do it from sort of more than one angle, it might provoke some action. It's not a permanent problem, but it is. And like Councillor Islam mentioned, I am concerned, we are concerned about the fact that the leisure centre is coming. It will generate a lot more people there at that point, getting on buses, waiting for mums and dads to pick them up, whatever, all those sorts of things. And we don't really want them all mown down as they try and try and do that. So it's clearly something we'll have to give further thought to. But I do think the first instance is the speed survey. And from that we can come to some sort of conclusions. I mean, we can certainly stick up flashing signs, that's not a difficult problem. But flashing signs tend to work best on civic-minded individuals who think, oh yeah, I've got, and I'll just slow down from 37 to 32 or something. But don't have any effect on someone who's going to ignore them no matter what they say. In fact, we've had cases where there's almost a competition to see how high a number you can get the sign to flash at. So we've stopped supplying those sorts of signs. So we just, but we'll look at it. I think the answer is to start with the survey and work from there, because then we've got a view. We'll talk to the police as well. It would help if you did too, and hopefully we can begin to make a dent. I'm not saying absolutely no to humps, bumps, tables, whatever they're called. They are, in my respect, the last resort. But at this stage it's too early to rule them in or rule them out. So I think if everybody's happy with that, unless anybody else is desperate to add something that we haven't discussed already, I think that's probably as far as we can go at this time. Yes. What I would ask you to do, one of you or both of you, or Councillor and you, Mrs. Murphy, there's a plan here.
If I pass that to you.
Mr. Knowles would find it very helpful if you would give suggestion as to where the best place to put the speed strips. We put strips across the road. They have to be again next to a lamppost, because we have to attach the box to a lamppost so someone doesn't nick it. But if you do that. Anyway, I will move the two recommendations on page 7, which is to meet and listen to the petitioners and ask for an independent survey to be undertaken and a location to be agreed. And then we'll report back to the petitioners and the councillors and see where we go from there. Thank you.
So Councillor Islam, just a suggestion. Appreciate if it has been sprung upon you. If you wanted to take that away and look at it and discuss it with your ward councillors and send it to me. The councillors have got my contact details. I will make sure we act upon it. It just to save you having to do that now, because obviously Councillor Bianco has another petition to hear. So if that's okay with you, and Councillor Islam, I will take account of that, make sure it happens.
Okay, well, in respect of agenda item 6, which is Nobel Drive, Harlington, it's a bit of a strange one, this, because it's a D-shaped road. In other words, it doesn't actually go anywhere apart from round the block. But there is some residential stuff there. I think your suggestion is a good one. Let's talk to the police to see if they're aware of issues. Are we going to do the survey?
I think, shall we talk to the police?
Talk to the police first.
I suggest we have a discussion with the police first. Clearly, there might be an issue about boy races and people like that because of the nature of where this is. Let's see what the police have to say, and then perhaps we come back and we might consider a survey after that.
Okay. I've amended that. Is that okay? You agree?
Yeah.
Those agreed. Thank you.